بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على الحبيب محمد وآله وصحبه أجمعين. يقول الله سبحانه وتعالى, Allah says in Surah Fatir, verse number 5, يا أيها الناس إن وعد الله حق فلا تغرنكم الحياة الدنيا ولا يغرنكم بالله الغرور. So Allah says, O mankind, Allah's promise is true, so don't let this life deceive you, and don't be deceived by the deceiver. And we're going to go into some of the meanings there, inshallah. So again, the ayah starts by Ya ayyuhan nas. This is a call to all mankind, everyone, not just the believers, because Allah is setting the stage for us to understand the type of life that everybody is going to go through. So Allah says, Ya ayyuhan nas, inna wa'dallahi haqq. Allah's promise is true. Now the scholars tell us a lot of things around Allah's promise. The most prominent point of view is that it's related to life after death and that people will be judged. That everybody is going to be judged. Whoever did good goes into paradise, whoever did bad will be punished accordingly. So first and foremost, this actually aligns with the human nature. When you think about it, people in school, they have exams, and if they did well, they pass. They didn't do well, they fail. They repeat the year again. Everything in life has basically some judgment at the end. So this aligns very much with the human nature, that Allah has put a judgment day after this life, so that everything becomes fair and everybody gets the reward. So Allah says, Ya ayyuhan nasu inna wa'dallahi haqq. And then Allah tells us, be careful about two things. فَلَا تَغُرَّنَّكُمُ الْحَيَاةُ الدُّنْيَا. So don't get deceived by this life. And we know that we live in this life, and then you get deceived into multiple different levels. One level, which is the basic one, that people don't even think about the hereafter anymore. They feel this is a permanent life. And even if they say, oh no, we believe in a hereafter, their behavior suggests that it's a permanent life. So they start to gather as much money as possible. They want to build as big as houses as possible. They live as if there is no tomorrow, as if they're just going to stay there and they will never die. So Allah says, فَلَا تَغُرَّنَّكُمُ الْحَيَاةُ الدُّنْيَا. Don't let this life deceive you. And Allah says in Surah Al-Imran, زُيَّنَ لِلنَّاسِ حُبُّ الشَّهَوَاتِ مِنَ النِّسَاءِ. All the stuff that Allah has mentioned in Al-Imran that we should be careful of. So one is that there is a hereafter and a judgment, but the other stuff is all the beautifications that are in this life, from women to money to all these things that people want to gather. And then Allah, the second thing, tells us about وَلَا يَغُرَّنَّكُمْ بِاللَّهِ الْغَرُورِ. So we need to stop here a little bit, because that's actually more deeper than the first one. The first one is obvious. We live in this life. The second one, Allah says وَلَا يَغُرَّنَّكُمْ بِاللَّهِ الْغَرُورِ. So most scholars also tell us that al-gharur means the shaytan. So don't let the devil deceive you. And some tell us it's actually the devils from the ins and the jinn. So it's the shaytan, but also the bad friends that whisper to us. So Allah is telling us, don't let those whispers, فَلَا يَغُرَّنَّكُمْ بِاللَّهِ الْغَرُورِ. Don't let them deceive you from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So what does that mean? It basically means, then don't let those whispers do two things. One, take you astray from Allah's path subhanahu wa ta'ala. The second one is that they make you think about Allah's stuff that is not accurate. So for example, you say, oh, Allah is Ghafoor Rahim, so I can do whatever I want in this life. And that's how the shaitan starts to come to the believers and tell us, just ignore. Allah is going to forgive you. You can do it later. When you're old, you can stop this sin. So you start to postpone things, and you start to undermine and think about Allah, yes, in the right sense, that yes, Allah is Ghafoor Rahim, but you should not take advantage of that and then continue to do the sins. So Allah is telling us, everybody, that two things as we go through life we should be careful of. One is the outward deception, that we just live in this life and try to enjoy it to the max. We should always be careful of that. The second thing is the whispers, which is more the external factor. The first one, by the way, comes mostly from the nafs. So it's mostly an internal thing. That Allah has created us, and internally in our nafs, we love this dunya. We're attached to it. We're attached to gathering more stuff. So that's the first one around فَلَا تَغُرَّنَّكُمُ الْحَيَاةُ الدُّنْيَا. The second one is more the outward. That whether it's bad friends, whether it's the shaitan, the whispers that come from outside and tell you either go astray or tell you don't worry about it, everything is going to be fine. but just continue to do what you're doing. So it's just something for us to contemplate on, think through, particularly as we're entering Ramadan, inshallah. May Allah make us all witness Ramadan and worship in the best possible way, and multiple Ramadans to come. We should be careful, because in Ramadan we know the famous hadith that the Shaytan will be chained, but you still have your nafs, and you still have the dunya that is around us. And that's why you see people even in Ramadan doing sins, because you still have those other two dimensions. So just a reminder for us to be careful and try to make sure as we go through Ramadan that we focus both on not being too much into this life and being dragged by this life and trying to collect more, or by the external factors that whisper to us a wrong path. إني داع فأمنه الحمد لله رب العالمين. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على محمد في الأولين وفي الآخرين وفي الملأ الأعلى إلى يوم الدين. اللهم اغفر لنا ذنوبنا وإسرافنا في أمرنا وثبت أقدامنا وانصرنا على القوم الكافرين. ربنا هب لنا من أزواجنا وذرياتنا قرة أعين واجعلنا للمتقين إماما. ربنا اغفر لنا ولإخواننا الذين سبقونا بالإيمان ولا تجعل في قلوبنا غلا للذين آمنوا ربنا إنك رؤوف رحيم. ربنا لا تؤاخذنا إن نسينا وأخطأنا ربنا ولا تحمل علينا إصرا كما حملته على الذين من قبلنا ربنا ولا تحملنا ما لا طاقة لنا به واعف عنا واغفر لنا وارحمنا أنت مولانا فانصرنا على القوم الكافرين. اللهم انصر إخواننا المستضعفين في فلسطين. اللهم انصر إخواننا المستضعفين في فلسطين. اللهم انصر إخواننا المستضعفين في فلسطين. اللهم إنا نسألك من خير ما سألك منه نبيك محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم، ونعوذ بك من شر ما استعاذك منه نبيك محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم. اللهم بارك لنا في شعبان وبلغنا رمضان. اللهم بارك لنا في شعبان وبلغنا رمضان. اللهم بارك لنا في شعبان وبلغنا رمضان، وارزقنا عبادك في الوجه الذي يرضيك عنا. وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين، وصلى الله وسلم على سيدنا محمد.